Notre Dame is number one.
Notre Dame with a miracle win as the clock
Going in. Notre Dame has scored.
You know, for our guys, it's been such a consistent year for us in terms of our preparation, and good to see. November, you know, as you know, can be a very interesting month relative to where you are as a football team. It could be one where your guys are just checked out, about to check out, are trying to get through it, or there's a great deal of energy and positive vibes around your team, and we've got that right now. We had very spirited practice, upbeat, seeing great, just great instruction, great teaching, guys getting better. So as a head coach, those are pretty good days. And if I could just stay in this business based upon what we do on Thursdays, I'd be a pretty happy guy. But we got to do it on Saturday, and so we got to carry this over in 48 hours and play good football against Wake Forest. Questions?
So it was a perfect Thursday?
Yeah, it's getting about as close as I think we've had in my time here. We're getting really close to practicing and letting it go in terms of guys making good decisions, correcting themselves, playing the game the right way. So yeah, perfect practice Thursday. This was a good one.
A bunch of you guys kind of talked about being a little bit more of a player-driven program this year than the last two. Guys, you know, like you said, guys working each other. When did you see that kind of reach critical mass where, okay, the ball's really rolling on this? I don't have to tend to it maybe as much as they before.
Well, you know, I think it's an evolution still of leadership. In other words, you know, the guys that are now taking that lead had to see it for a couple of years, and now that they know what is expected on a day-to-day basis, they can kind of lead. That allows it to filter down into the ranks now, because they really didn't know what it looked like when we started. Now they know what it looks like. Now the freshmen understand what it looks like. So it becomes easier for us to have, in some instances, a player-driven team as it relates to like today. And I think we'll continue to see more of that.
And some of the veterans said, you know, their first year, they didn't really have a veteran to look to that had been through it before. How much of a challenge is that really as you're taking over programs along the way?
Well, it requires to do a lot more of the lifting on a day-to-day basis and provide so much more interaction during practice to the point where, you know, you're on your guys a lot about how to do it the right way, and I certainly don't have to do that as much. I'll pick my spots. I'm certainly on top of it as it relates to how we practice, but there's no question that in answering it, it's about these guys now know what it looks like, and they can kind of self-correct.
Brian, I would imagine there's a little bit of self-evaluation every year, but was there more or less after last season for you personally?
No, I just knew that we were at the next stage, you know, and at the next stage you can't, you know, as you're building something and building a football program, it requires for you to accentuate different things within the program. The first couple of years, you know, we had to show them how to do it and demand it, and I think I've made it pretty clear. I mean, they knew what I wanted from them, and I had to be demonstrative about it. I don't have to be that way this year with this group because we've got so many of them that understand. I don't want to say that, you know, again, a couple of words were used were player-driven. Some people say, you know, now it's on autopilot. You know, there's a lot of cliches that you can use in that sense. I haven't detached myself. I've put myself more involved in it, but our guys are understanding what to do, and they can duplicate the process or be more consistent.
Brian, you still have about 20 practices, 3 games left. It's kind of a unique situation.
Yeah.
Just kind of wondering who among your regulars has shown indications they can really continue to step up their game as you're getting into
Everett Golson. I mean, it's start and end right there. You know, he's doing all the things that we were hoping, you know, and you know, what we had to live through were some ups and downs, but there's no question he's there. We're seeing Kaveri Russell improve today in 2 minute. He did some really neat things in 2 minute. I think Chris Brown, especially with Daniels out, has got a ton more reps. Those guys are just going to continue to climb.
Coach, Everett's helmet has fallen off a couple of times. Is that a concern, or is that something that's been addressed, or?
Yeah, I really hadn't thought about it. Now that you're bringing it up, this is really the first time that I've thought about it relative to his helmet. I know he has a shield, and sometimes there's a tendency for those to buckle because of the shield. In terms of buckling the strap kind of juts out a little bit. But it's a good point. We'll look into it.
And, Thursday night, Braxton has some players over, and it's kind of a team bonding
Yeah.
thing. And is that kind of cool that he's like the hometown guy and kind of the hometown host, and brings some of these guys together for?
They wouldn't go over unless his mom was there. They don't care about Braxton Cave. They love his mom and the way she cooks. I think it's a ritual in most programs where the O-line get together on Thursday nights, and certainly having Braxton as a local guy and a family that would welcome in a bunch of O-linemen and know that the grocery bill is going to be pretty high.
Do you talk to these guys, or you don't want to hammer it too much about 10-0 and the pressures that go with it, but about the opportunity, because not everybody has this chance, and it's been a long time for this school. I mean,
the only thing we've talked about in terms of a goal, and I mentioned this I think on Tuesday, they want to go undefeated at home. That's really important to this group. They don't talk about 11-0 or 12-0 or national championships or bowl games or any of those other things. They want to win this last home game because they want to be that group that went undefeated at home. That's important to them.
But at the end of the day, I mean, we were all here when you came here, and with Notre Dame, I mean, where you are right now, it's got to be a great feeling to know that you're on that road.
Oh, they feel that. They sense it. They understand that, that the program is moving in the right direction. They get that, but they're not giddy about it. They like going to class. They like being around a campus that is positive about Notre Dame football, but they have not shown any signs to me or anybody in the program that they're taking what they have for granted. They have worked really hard to get here, and they've exhibited that week in and week out.
Russell is fine?
Yes, yes. He cleared his software test fairly easily.
Any other injuries or flu, just to get that in?
So glad. Injuries. No. We actually, our health is really good. I mean, losing Daniels obviously is disappointing, but no, everybody. Kona's better. Kona Schwenke, who had the shoulder, he's in a better position. Everybody else, we're in good shape.
And is Collinsworth back yet?
He is back. He has not been cleared for contact. He is back. He's in the weight room. Our protocol is after they're released, they go to Longo. Longo has a time with them, and then when they're strong enough to do specific exercises, then they get released. He'll practice with us most likely when we get into bowl preparation.
So will he be like a scout team guy then?
Our practices will be sometimes geared for the young guys and returning players, and he'll be involved in that. And when he's in a preparation mode, no, he would be on the scout team. That's correct.
And barring injury, can you see any scenario where a freshman who hasn't played yet would play in one of these last games?
It would have to be an extremely dire situation with the offensive line. That's where we're most thin. We've got some young players that would have to be pressed that have played in the back end of our defense. Wouldn't be crazy about it, but we'd have to play them. But the only guy really would be offensive line that we don't want to play unless there's a dire emergency situation.
With all the hardware in Matthias's hand from a couple weeks ago, I mean, how has that held up after another game?
Yeah, quite well. I think his first week back was really, as you know, the first half he was extremely apprehensive. And then the second half, he let it go and gained the confidence that he could do things. The second week, more comfortable, and now this week, he's catching the ball. He's actually moving his hand and catching the football. So I would say that it's a very small impediment to where he is right now.
With the talk about the style points, and I know you said you can't be concerned about that, after last week. Do you at all have to, where the team is sitting, do you have to talk to them about, not going, not being concerned, about having to win with style or whatever this weekend?
Yeah, I don't talk about it. So maybe they get together and they talk about it, but it's never a conversation that we have, nor do I even want to bring it up, because it's just that we're not constructed to even talk about it in those terms. We've never had conversations about how we should look. We only talk about how we should prepare.
The Golson helmet thing, what are your thoughts on that rule in general, having to come off the field if the player loses his helmet?
I think it's okay. I understand the premise of it, and we had guys that were taking their helmets off and they weren't buckled properly. I'm okay with it. We'll look into it and make sure that, because it's a good point. He's had to come out a couple of times.
And then notice Matt Hegarty wasn't on the depth chart for the first time. Was that just saving ink, or?
Oh, Matt Hegarty. Yeah, he had a medical procedure, and I can't get into the specifics of it, and I don't want it to be a cloak and dagger situation, but he's fine. He's fine, but we have to shut him down until he has some further testing. Again, I can't, because of privacy, to get into some specifics about it. It wasn't a situation where he got hurt in a practice. This was an outside practice situation that caused some concern. He's had some testing, and he's doing well, but we have to shut him down for football until we get some further testing.
You expect he'll be off the table for this year then?
We're not certain as it relates to bowl game opportunities, but we're fairly certain that he will not be available to us this week or next. Great, thank you.